Hi everyone, welcome to another of our videos. We're presenting for the ILS NYC 2022 conference. Now we had to postpone the in-person event in New York, sadly, because of the pandemic, but we're holding it on April the 22nd instead. And you can still get hold of tickets by visiting the event website at Artemis.bm. So we're holding some interviews with the kind sponsors of the event to showcase their thought leadership and also to say thank you for their support. And for this event video, I'm delighted to welcome some speakers from one of our silver sponsors for the conference, global banking group HSBC. So I'm delighted to have Tom McKay and Vivian Lee with me today. Tom is Senior Vice President and Vivian is Client Relationship Manager. So welcome both of you, nice to see you.
See you, Steve, and thanks for having us.
Sure. So as ever, we're looking at the development of the insurance-linked securities market. That is our remit, and we always have one eye to the future, as is the way with our conferences. Now, HSBC is obviously a very, very large global banking group offering a range of services, many of which are used already within insurance, reinsurance, and of course, ILS transactions as well, not least escrow and corporate trust, but also adjacently some other services that play into the marketplace that we care about. So with your global scale at HSBC, it's always interesting to hear the views of a major player in finance, especially on a niche sector like insurance-linked securities, as it's a very small sector really in the grand scheme of global financial markets. But perhaps we can start with you, Tom. So at our upcoming conference in April, we're going to talk about resetting the scene after what has been a challenging period from a loss perspective. From your vantage point at HSBC, what key trends have you noted in ILS over the last few years, and which do you think are important for the future?
Yeah, so in 2021, we've seen a continuation of the growth in the market. So I think the market's been on a pretty steady growth path, about 10% a year. We see that continuing in 2021. We saw an influx of new sponsors in the space, so which always very good to see. Trapped collateral still tends to be an issue. It's, I think, smaller. It's much more smaller than it had been in prior years, but it's still there. From our own portfolio, we have seen a larger volume of deals coming in during this most recent renewal season, but the deals tend to be smaller. So the average deal size is down a bit, but the overall asset size of the entire pool is up. So again, that's good to see. We continue to see a low correlation between the ILS space and other asset classes, which I think is good for the market. And then last but not least, ESG, right? I think ESG is kind of everything you're hearing about these days in the ILS market. And in terms of the future, more ESG. I think that's not going away. That's only going to grow. We think that drives the need for additional transparency in the underlying risk that's being transferred, so the investors can see the ESG qualities of that. We are hearing more and more from our clients about what options there are for them to invest the collateral that's posted in these deals. So what sort of ESG money market funds are available, things like that. And then we even believe, we're starting to see a small trend towards this, that it will translate into the service providers like ourselves. You know, what are our ESG credentials and how are we sort of responding to those requirements? Maybe I'll come back to that a little later. But in short, you know, ESG, I think, is just beginning. We've heard a lot about it, but a lot more to come. Also, I think in the future, you're going to see most likely more pandemic risk bonds. We expect to see more new sponsors coming into the space. And then based on an article, I think Fitch recently published, growth is just likely to continue, right? They see a doubling of the market by 2030. And we believe a lot of that growth is going to come in the Asia Pacific region. We believe we're well positioned to take advantage of that. But again, maybe I'll touch on that a little bit later.
Some very interesting points there, Tom, and particularly around ESG, as you rightly point out, it's gonna matter for everybody in the market chain, really, right the way from the original risk all the way through to service providers. So it's good that you guys have got your eyes on that, and encouraging to hear about the market growth as well. And perhaps moving on to you, Vivian, with the market continuing to grow, albeit not without the challenges that it's faced from rising catastrophe losses, perhaps you could explain some of the specific services that you provide at HSBC and how partnering with a global player like yourselves can benefit the ILS market as it expands.
Sure. Sure. Thanks, Steve. The services we provide are trustee, paying agents, settlement agent, collateral agents, and also escrow agents. As a global bank, we have presence in over 100 countries, but specifically in this market, we have presence in New York, London, Singapore, Hong Kong, Dubai, and also in Bermuda. I would point out that we are the only provider in the space with a physical presence in Bermuda. HSBC is a full-service global financial institution. We can support clients in different countries with global products, including cash management, credit and lending, asset management, security services, and many others. We can provide these services globally to our clients as they expand the business around the world.
Sure, and that's a big range of services that are often focused at the collateral end of things, and that's obviously one area that gets overlooked sometimes in the risk transfer piece of the puzzle. Often gets all of the headlines, but actually the plumbing sitting behind the scenes and some of the services that are provided around that are really key and really critical for investor confidence as well, I think. So, Tom, as the ILS market continues to expand, how is HSBC positioning itself to capitalize on this?
Yeah, so one of the things, and going back to ESG, right, we believe it's going to continue to be a strong driver in this market. So we're looking to, and not just for the ILS space, but overall looking to further increase our ESG credentials. We have significant commitments around the D&I space, as well as the transitioning to net zero. So HSBC views itself as a leader in ESG among financial institutions, and we continue to look to lead in that way. We're also building out our capabilities globally. Like I said before, we do think a lot of this growth is going to come in the Asia Pacific region. So we're sort of building up our capabilities there. We've actually had people in New York spend some time doing rotations through Singapore and such, and as well as Hong Kong. So we look to continue to do that to make sure we have the right expertise in the right places at the right time so we can take advantage of it. Acting as a thought leader in forums like this, as well as some things we've done in the Hong Kong market in the space, I think is key for us. And then again, capitalizing on our presence in Bermuda, we've got a great team on the ground there. They help us stay in touch with the clients that are based in Bermuda, where they can see them every day and physically, outside of the pandemic, obviously, but be in their offices or have them in our offices. So we think all those things are kind of key for us to do as this market expands and as we look to expand with it.
Absolutely. The global footprint is really helpful for companies as they're looking to access risk transfer, having service providers on the ground, especially where they're domiciling their transactions, can be really key. So switching back to you, Vivian, often the kind of services that a bank like HSBC offers need to be as frictionless as possible. So what do you do and how do you help make your clients' lives easier?
Well, Steve, I think it's important to know the client's expectation. For example, if the client expressed that they're looking for a trustee to quickly turn around document review, we would propose to set up a standardized template in advance. That way, when there is an opportunity, we can turn around our comments on the agreement swiftly. Also, we provide a list of money market funds available on our platform, including HSBC money market funds. We can facilitate purchase of securities through our fixed income desk upon clients' requests. And most importantly, I want to speak to our white glove service within issuer services. There is a single point of contact for our clients, which makes our clients' life a lot easier. As you're aware, banks have many different teams to perform segregated functions. And because of this, it caused an inconvenience for our clients to have to reach out to various teams to check on deal closing status, especially for new clients, right? So with the client service model, each of the client will have a dedicated client manager who will be the point of contact for these clients throughout the onboarding at the onboarding process. So the client manager will work closely with the onboarding team and also working closely with the transaction management team on the document review. They'll also coordinate with the client service delivery team to ensure that account is ready to be activated on closing dates. So there's a lot of functions that they can do and stay on top of. The client manager also provides the client with the expertise and also any questions that the client may have at onboarding. They also manage the client relationships after the deal closes as well. Our clients, I have to say, our clients really love the fact that we offer this white glove service. We want to make it easy for our clients to work with us.
I think that's really important and often overlooked as well as, and you mentioned their standardization of documentation, which obviously it's a topic that comes up at ILS industry conferences for well over a decade. We've been talking about this, so it's great to see that people are really actually taking that forwards and trying to make people's lives easier, because ultimately that makes the market move more smoothly for everybody. So switching back to you, Tom, perhaps you could speak a little bit about the opportunity for HSBC to leverage the global platform and your diverse product offerings, and how can you support the ILS market going forwards?
Yeah, so thanks, Steve. Again, the global footprint of the bank is key for us in this market. It allows us, for example, to work on a transaction that has a requirement for a trustee in New York, a settlement agent and paying agent in London, and maybe a collateral agent in Hong Kong. And we can do that right out of issuer services offices and people dedicated to this product in those regions. We also offer through our asset management team onshore U.S. money market funds as well as offshore funds that can be used for the collateral that's posted in these transactions. So that's a good thing for this market and for our clients. And like Vivian said, look, we're a full service financial provider around the globe, so we can offer things like, in addition to the trust and the agent services in the ILS space, things like credit facilities, cash management, custody, in all these locations around the world. Finally, I would point out that the solid financial backing of HSBC and our strong credit rating, which is one of the highest in the industry and the service providers, makes it easy for clients to work with us. We're a trusted counterparty, and kind of make their lives easier in terms of selling HSBC to other deal parties, whether it's investors, beneficiaries, whatever. So.
Great, thank you, Tom. And I guess finally, Vivian, just turning back to you, is there anything you feel makes HSBC unique in this space with your existing ILS market offering and the potential to do more as well?
Yes, so some of our unique aspects are our global footprint. We are a full service bank and the only one with physical presence in Bermuda. We work seamlessly with our Bermuda relationship managers to leverage KYC between offices with the customer's permission. Also, our client service model is very beneficiary to our clients by removing any obstacles that come up during the life of the deal. We have many subject matter experts with extensive experience within the ILS market who can further ensure a successful transaction. Also, HSBC is one of the highest credit rated providers in this space, and we are well positioned to support our clients and this market as they grow. And in closing, we are committed to the ILS market and will continue to expand our network and develop relationships with the existing and new participants in this space.
Great, thank you, Vivian. Listen, thank you both very much. I really appreciate your time today. It was great to hear some of your thoughts on the ILS market in general and also on the important work that HSBC does there. So thank you, Tom, and thank you, Vivian. Really appreciate you spending some time with me today.
You're welcome, Steve. Thank you for having us.
Sure, great to see you both.
See you in April.